Hey, what's up, everyone? And welcome to part one of our ACDC deep dive, the Bond years. And I am joined by the man who's going to be doing a lot of talking on my. Is it my right? I believe it's my right. Uh, Mean Metal Mike.
What's up, metalheads? You ready?
Yes, we got. This part is going to be relatively short, hopefully. 5 albums, 7 if you count the Australian versions. But yeah, I'm gonna let Mean Metal Mike have. Well, first off, I guess because this is the beginning of it. Let's start with Mike. When did you get into it slash discover ACDC?
Well, right around starting middle school in 2008. Very first album was If You Want Blood Live and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And that's how I got into them.
Hmm, nice. All right. All right, I guess with me it's kind of almost the same. I think I got into them kind of around getting into like middle school, end of middle school, beginning of high school or something like that. For me, around I've been 04, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. There, discovered it because my stepdad had I think ACDC live from the 90s. I liked it at first. I liked it, and then I think at the time I would get into them with the first album I would ever get, Black Ice. And I've been kind of a casual fan of AC/DC ever since, but I've been mostly a fan of the Brian years pretty much. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much how I got into AC/DC. So Mean Metal Mike intro, and you and then for these first two because they're the Australian versions, you get to talk about them solely. So I'm just gonna be in the
Well,
background. So,
let's talk about the foundations of ACDC and how it all started.
yes.
Well,
Oh yes. And
mm,
before if I have to cut you off, sometimes we might be referencing from this book right here, ACDC album, my album from Martin Popoff. So
so the band formation foundation of ACDC and how the band started goes back to the 1960s with their brother George Young being the first Young in the family to be in music. He formed the band in the early 60s called the Easy Beats. Very popular in and around Australia, did some stuff in the UK, and that's how basically Angus and Malcolm discovered music with their influences being Muddy Waters, um, Chuck Berry, Elvis being a lot of their musical inspiration. And supposedly the first band or the first taste of music that Malcolm would get into would be with his brother George. They would form a band together called Velvet Underground with a few other unknown people. I don't know the names. This would have been around the late mid 60s. So this was
and
Malcolm's
and I
first
wanted
taste of music.
yes, and I wanted to point out it's not to be confused with the Velvet Underground with Lou Reed. This is a different Velvet
Totally
Underground.
different band. Yes. And then Angus would join in with him, George, and Malcolm forming another band called the Marcus Roll Band in the very late 60s. I think around 67 or 68. And they would do some stuff. And around this time, I believe Malcolm and Angus decided to spill away from their brother George for a bit and try other stuff. Tried working, didn't work out. They came back to music and think around 1970, 71. And this is where Angus and Malcolm buy their own house together somewhere in Sydney, move in together, and start making music again. And formation of ACDC would have been 1973, which is the earliest formation for the band. The band got their idea from a sewing machine that said ACDC on the back. True story. And yeah, that's how the early formation of the band. The very first lineup was, I forget who it was. I had stuff written down and I'm a little unprepared. So, and it would have been Angus Young, Malcolm Young, there, and then the very first singer they ever had, Dave, a guy by the name of Dave Evans.
Yes.
They there would be two early singles that the band would record called "Rocking in the Parlor" and the very first version of "Can I Sit Next to You," which this lineup wouldn't last long. Um, I believe this lineup toured on and off in the summer of '73 and early '74 ish, and then they would sack. Malcolm would kick Dave Evans out of the group after Dave Evans no showed for a festival. And at that same festival, Bon Scott was at that time the chauffeur for the band, and he would drive the band around. Supposedly, there's reports that Bon Scott at that time would play fill in on drums on occasion for the band, and then eventually the band got sick and tired of Dave Evans no showing, and so Bon stepped in as lead vocals in early around the spring of '74. They would do their first show in '74 at the Melbourne Festival. That would be Bond's very first live show with the band, which you can hear it. There is bootleg of it on YouTube. That live show. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of the prehistory of the band. How Bon Scott was in some bands before AC/DC, the Valentine's Fraternity. You can look that stuff up if you want. And yeah, we're going right into the first album the band recorded with Bon, which would be which would
Aus-
be the
the
Australian
Australian version of High
version of
Voltage.
High Voltage, which came out in 74. 74. And side one, Baby Please Don't Go. She's Got Balls, Little Lover, Stick Around. Side
No,
two,
not 1974. I want to correct you right there. It's released on February 17th, 1975.
yeah. But yeah, you have the tracks Baby Please Don't Go, which supposedly is just a cover song, cover track. A lot of bands covered that song at that time. So, She's Got Balls, Little Lover, Stick Around, which didn't make it to the final international release version. Soul Stripper, which great tune, but did not make the cut for the regular studio album. You Ain't Got a Hold on Me, Love Song, and Show Business. And the lineup for that album would be Bon Scott, Angus Young, Malcolm Young, on bass Rob Bailey, and on drums Peter Clack, and on other parts of the drumming would be another session drummer by the name of Tony Crianti, who would play on all the tracks except Baby Please Don't Go. Peter Clack is rumored to play on one track, which is Baby Please Don't Go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that album basically in a nutshell. Um, Not much else on it other than yeah. I'm just looking at the book, so I
Yeah, but
might pause.
obviously, yeah, but your thoughts?
That's a good album, but this is the band's not quite there yet. They haven't quite found their sound yet. This
Yeah,
is starting
obviously.
on.
Yeah, obviously. It's not until we get to, the international version where it's already, they have their
And
sound pretty much.
so we have the second version, which will be later in '75, TNT.
Oh, yeah, TNT.
And this
Oh, what would
version,
you give, rating wise? What would you give the Australian version of High Voltage?
about 6 out of 10.
Okay.
For a debut, for for an Australian debut, it's okay.
Hmm. Okay.
And then we get into a stronger album, in my opinion, TNT.
Yep.
Came out on December 1st, 1975. This is
Correct.
where the band starts to discover their sound because this is where we get the first. This is where we get an original member joining on drums, Mr. Phil
Phil
Rudd.
Rudd.
Mr. Phil
Yep.
Rudd. And
Mm.
Phil was in a few other bands previously. Previously, with Mushroom Records, which I already did a deep dive on it. With Buster Brown, Phil was in Buster
Oh
Brown.
yeah, the we did a retrospective for it, which by the way y'all can go and check out if y'all want to.
Yeah.
We'll make sure after we finish all this, we'll leave links in the description. One of the links being for the Buster Brown retrospective.
And Mark Evans officially joins on bass. So you solidify the first classic lineup of AC/DC with Angus,
Yep,
Malcolm, Vaughn, Phil, and Mark.
Mark. Yep,
This album was only issued in Australia. So this
exactly.
is the
Because
second
most of the
Australian. The second Australian release of, call it High Voltage if you want, but it's titled TNT. So we go into the tracks and the album. Side one, It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll, kicks it off. Fucking great song. I
yeah,
think it's
essentially, yeah. Side one is basically all that would be on the international version of High Voltage.
which would be the final polished version. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everything polished. And we go into Rock and Roll Singer, The Jack, Livewire, TNT. Rocker is on this version.
Rocker is not on here.
Yes, it is.
No, on this one.
No, it's not in that one. No, but
Yeah,
on
this is
TNT,
what I was talking about. I
Rocker.
wasn't talking about this. I was talking about this.
Can I Sit Next
This
to
one that's not
You?
on.
High Voltage.
That's on here.
Then he ended out with School Days. And from what I'm reading on this album, this is right when the band started playing in like very small pubs, pool halls, and the band would play birthday parties at this. So basically, they'll play any gig they can take.
Yeah.
And supposedly Harry Vanda of the Easy Beats would join in and fill in on guitar sometimes. But yeah, that's all I can say on this.
Yeah. Thoughts on this album?
That's a step forward.
Yeah. And all right, you want me to give rating wise, so we can, so that I could get
6.5 out of 10.
interesting. Alrighty. Well, that at least for now that ends with Australian versus. Let's get into the international, because all of that, I think the only songs on here that are from the Australian version of High Voltage, because majority is from the Australian version of TNT, and the only two, Little Lover and She's Got Balls, are from the Australian version of High Voltage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
fuck, this is a great album, at least for me, and I'll put myself up here because I definitely want to talk about this one, because you talking about all those other ones. This is the best combination of the two, pretty much. I mean, yeah, other songs would be on other albums later on. I think some of them would eventually be on the international version of Dirty Deeds, which is the version I did listen to.
Which
I'm
is,
pretty sure.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the version I pretty much was listening to some songs from, I guess, both albums. I think what is majority. I believe majority of the TNT release is on here, but it's not all of them, because I did see
No.
some songs did not make it on here. As I'm looking if I can find it. Blah 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 blah. Where is this it? Nope, not it. Where is? Oh no, that's. I'm going in the wrong direction. Why am I going in the wrong direction? Should be.
I don't know.
It is what it is. Okay, yeah. TNT, I think the only things that did not make it onto the album or onto this version here is School Days. School Days did not make it.
Which
Would that
is
be
a Chuck Berry cover.
Oh, so it never really got to be on any of the '70s
The only
albums.
two releases it's on is TNT and the Bonfire Buck, and then the Bonfire set. That's it.
Okay, so it never did make it into an
No.
official
And,
an
and,
international ACDC album, pretty much. But
and I'm going to mention the Bonfire set a bit during this also. So,
all
because there's
right,
songs on there that also later Bon albums. So, not.
yeah. But yeah, I do think this is probably the best combination you could come up with the two albums of Australian versions of High Voltage and TNT. I love the hell out of it. I do love It's a Long Way to the Top. I love Rock and Roll Singer. Freaking great song. There's some albums I think for me. I think at this point with ACDC albums, there's probably those that I'm gonna think of very, very highly of, and then there's gonna be like those that are like, okay, it's just your standard ACDC album, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And this is one of those I'm gonna think highly of, big time, because I absolutely love this one. There's only a handful of Bond albums I absolutely love, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, you start off with "It's a Long Way to the Top" if you want to rock and roll. Great song, Rock and Roll Singer, freaking love it. The Jack is pretty awesome. TNT, I mean, come on, that's an iconic song. Little Lover, I do like. I do like She's Got Balls. But there's so many good stuff on here that I absolutely love. And as much as I love the Brian era, this is probably one of a few that I probably absolutely love and will go back to. But I give this a 9.75. Freaking fantastic. There's not too many. ACDC is not one that I would think can get into the 10 out of 10 range. But then again, when I was in the Moody Blues deep dive with Jeff, I did give some of their albums 10 out of 10. So it's still kind of possible in this day and age to get a 10 out of 10. It's just kind of difficult for ACDC's case. But there's probably going to be one, but it's not in this part. You'll probably find out which
Well,
one it
here's the
is.
thing. I'm going to tie it in. The High Voltage album, different
You mean
artwork for that album.
yeah,
Because there's
totally. It's different because it's supposed
there's
to
a
be.
few, it,
It's supposed to be different. This is the international version. This is not supposed to be
it,
like the Australian version.
there's one version with a light bulb for High Voltage, and it's in the book. It's on page
Is that the one
37.
in the book? Is that yeah?
It's
That's
on
got like
page 37.
it's like a
Yeah,
it's kind of a weird look. If I can, I'll show it on in the book. And here's what it actually looks like because we
yeah.
got the book here. We got the book
And
here,
then
so
go
we
to
can
page
show it.
37. Page 37. I have the book too.
Yeah, it's on page 37 too. And here is what the TNT cover looks like too. But yeah,
Yeah.
ours is pretty much this one is the international version pretty much. But what would you give that? What would what your thoughts are on this, and what would you give a rating for this one, Mike?
I don't hate the album. I like each song on it. But there's better albums coming after it. I'm giving it a solid 7. It's not a 9 out of 10. It's a solid 7. Call it a day.
Fair enough. Alrighty, so
The
since we're
only
staying,
there's only one song I would remove off of the international version and replace it.
which one?
Move Out, Can I Sit Next to You? Put in Soul Stripper.
Oh, interesting. That is very, very interesting.
And then you got an 8 out of 10 for me, if that was the case.
I don't think there's not a. I think for me, maybe there might be one later on down the road, but I think every ACDC album for me is above a 9. Like they're all good. They're all really good, but some of them there's gonna be those that are standouts. And this is to me is one of them. Alrighty. Next up, we got this one's a different Thunder Cheap. This is it. This is this version, but there is the other version. I know it's in this one. Where is that?
Oh yeah, cover? It's in the book. It's in the book, page 38. Page 38.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find the cover of
the Australian version.
No, international version of Dirty Deeds. There it is. That's the one right there. If I can get it there, right there. Page 55 is the international version of Dirty Deeds. But yeah, but this one's a different style. Oh yeah, that's why in here, because this one's our. I think the international one is kind of, if I
The international
remember
is the one with the
correctly,
pink.
it's a
The
different
international
version.
one with that the pink logo. Yeah, the international version has the pink logo with people's faces censored over top. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the version that I know. Is that the one? No, this one's a different version. It's the other. It's the Australian version.
No.
Let's go the
The
international. The
Australian version.
international, the international version has "Dirty Deeds" under the title track, "Love at First Feel," "Big Balls," "Rocker," "Problem Child," "There's Gonna Be Some Rockin'," "Ain't No Fun Waiting Around to Be a Millionaire," "Ride On," and "Squealer."
Squealer.
I think the difference between this one is I think some songs, like I recognize, I notice
Well,
jailbreaks
here's
on this one.
the jailbreaks on the Australian version. And
But it never
originally,
was.
Aunt Malcolm was going to title the album Jailbreak,
Yeah, but that
but
that didn't. But we
Albert
get that
record
later. We get that.
label.
Yeah, we get that later on. We'll get that later on when we get to that version in part two.
Yeah. Yeah. 30 Deeds. The album comes out September 20th, 1976.
Yep.
And
What
this is
about
by
that one?
Albert Records. Yeah, the same lineup. Um, and you know, I mean, I'm reading what it says on the album. So yeah, and this is where they start playing clubs. This is where they go up a notch and they start playing in clubs now. So
Yep.
and supposedly 1976 the ACDC played in the Marquee Club supposedly with some weird lineups. And they played for some bands. I forget. Yeah, this is ACDC. Jailbreak. You know, not much on 30 detail. You know, it's a tongue-in-cheek album. There's a lot of innuendo on this album. A few songs.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're both going to be talking about two completely different versions of this album. So, your thoughts, at least on on both versions, I should say, the Australian and
I
international version.
prefer. I think the Australian release is a tad bit stronger than the international release because Jailbreak is on there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that when we get to it in part two. At least for me, at the very least. So that might be one that I'll probably be talking about because I don't really want to talk
And on
about
the
the Australian version of Dirty Deeds.
and on the Australian version of Dirty Deeds, also Rocker's not on it.
Rockers is on
So
the
the reason
international
why
version, though.
international release, yes,
Yes.
but the Australian version, no. And this is why I think the Australian version of Dirty Deeds is a tad bit stronger than the international release, which is why I'm giving, the Australian version a solid 8 out of 10.
Mm.
The
I think
international
this one
gets a
is.
7.
I'm one of those that's probably like I personally I think with me because I only listen to the international version is now we got for me coming up. I only listened to the international version because I wanted to keep it easier. So that's why probably when we get to Jailbreak 74 Jailbreak, that's what I'm gonna probably be like, talk about that. But Dirty Deeds is one of those that I'm just like it's got a few moments, but it's just like it's your safe, tried and true ACDC album. Nothing bad to be said. I think I did mention a few songs that I did like. I have written down here. Problem Child sounds like something the band would write with Brian Johnson on vocals.
I disagree with that.
I listened to that. I'm like, I think when I was listening, it's why I write that is like the sound. It sounds like that early, like I think something like from those for those about to rock. It has that kind of for those about to rock kind of sound a little bit, and it was kind of like that's interesting. I think that's for me because that's what I heard. I'm like, sounds like something from for those about to rock. Yeah, there's gonna be some rocking is the type of song you'll hear like a party or from a club band at a bar.
Rocking.
And then
That's
I
the
got
show tonight.
yeah. Then obviously we all know the title track and big balls, but we got the biggest balls of them all, which is on both. I think both of them are all these songs on the. I believe all these four songs I mentioned. Yep, Dirty Deeds, and yep, all four are on the internet on the Australian version. So they're all songs I like that are on the Australian version. But I think from outside of those four, I'm like, it's it's good. It's not as great as this one, but I'm like, it's a good follow up. I give it a 9.5. That's most of these albums I'm gonna give it a 9.5 or somewhere below. So that's where it's a safe one. There's never really a bad ACDC album per se, but there are, like I said, there's gonna be some that I will probably rate higher than those. Um, Next up, Let There Be Rock. I think this is this the no wait. When was the first one where it was released everywhere? Power Rage, I believe.
No, but Let There Be Rock.
Let There Be Rock is the first one where all the songs on both are the same.
No, that would be after Let There Be Rock with Power Rage. Yes, but
Yeah,
this
Power Rage.
one,
So Power Rage is the first
this
one
one
that's
is
everywhere.
an exception because for the international version, one song's left off, which is Crab City in Blue.
Oh, okay, yep.
Because Crab City in Blue, Bon Scott is singing about, crabs, not the
Okay, so
seashore
that one
crabs.
is so that was omitted, but pretty much both Australian and the international are pretty much the
So
same
we're
track list.
so we're gonna say for the international version has Crab City in Blue and not count Problem Child because Problem Child is on.
Yeah, that's why they got rid of Crab City. We can only yeah, that's right. That's the only difference. They have that's why I had on here. It's like but I was originally thinking like I was like seeing that they had Power Problem Child. I'm like, they must have liked that song so much they put it all on two albums back to back.
Because the record label and company did not like the song Crab City in Blue because of the tongue in cheek with Bond, sexual
Oh, okay,
innuendo,
okay. Fair
and
enough, fair enough.
they told him, "Sorry, lads, you can't. Sorry, lads, either you can't have that song on the record, or we're not going to release the record." So I'm
Yeah,
not going to make it strip that off and put on Problem Child. Very last minute, you know.
yeah.
And this is the album where the Young Brothers were in the studio and they blew an amp.
Yeah, yeah. That's
On the,
yeah. I'm like this is kind of a weird one to say, you know. But also, I believe this is the last one with Mark on the bass.
yes, because Cliff would join during the tour. Mark would only
Yeah,
play.
he only
Mark would
played on
have
the
it.
album. He went on the album.
Mark would play
Also,
two.
both have also again they both have two different covers. This is the one where it's like a guitar fret and the hands are on the frets and stuff like that. And then there's the one where it's all the guys, I think, on stage.
Which
I believe.
I think is the
Here it
better
is. But
album.
if I could get it a little bit closer, that is that is the international one. And funny enough, I think this is the first one with the iconic logo, pretty much with the Squealer logo.
Yep, the first official band logo, the first iconic logo.
Yeah, pretty much. That's
Oh,
where it starts.
on a hand note, Ryan, in the early
Yes.
days of ACDC, they had a logo with dice, where the ACDC
Oh
were in
yeah.
dice.
Cool. That's
That was
all
during the
right.
Dave Evans era.
Cool. Okay, but your thoughts on both the international and Australia, because technically they're both the same album.
Fuck, Let There Be Rock's a masterpiece, in my opinion.
Ooh,
There's
I
not
would.
one bad song I don't like. Love everything off of it.
Yeah, I
Fuck,
definitely can agree. There's like,
fuck, man. You started off
yeah,
with Go Down, right into a shuffly kind of boogie with Go Down. You go right into Dog Eat Dog, another ripper. You go
Let There
right
Be
into the
Rock. Yeah, yeah,
go
come
right
on.
into Let the Be Rock, hits you right in the face off the bat, fast. You know, and people, when I say fast, I don't mean it like speed metal. This is just high octane electric rock, fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Then you go right into another barn burner, Bad Boy Boogie to end off side one.
Great song.
Then you go right into side two with Overdose, which, go to side dose. Crab City and Blue, which
Crab City Blues
international
slash
prop,
Problem
but
Child. We've already talked about. I already mentioned Problem Child on the previous album.
yeah. So yeah, go right into Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be for track three. Then you go right into the closer, Whole
Whole
Lot of
lot of
Rosie.
Rosie, called iconic song. I think they still play it. I
Which
think they still play it. They still
which
play it live to
is
this day.
not the original version of Rosie because now I'm going onto the Bonfire box set. There's a demo of a song called Dirty
Ooh,
Eyes, which came out in
ooh.
1977, that has the same riff as Rosie.
Cool, cool, cool.
And I am giving
Let There Be
idiot.
Rock.
Let There Be Rock. I'm giving it 10 out of 10. I think it's a perfect album.
I almost agree with you. I have written down here of just band picks up right where they left off on High Voltage. Great hard rock music. Definitely will pick it up. Like I said, you mentioned Go Down. I freaking love that song. I love
But
a lot of Rosie. There's some good songs and it's really, really consistently great. But I can't give it a 10. I cannot give it a
I,
10. I
I
got,
have
but I
to.
will. But I'll rank it. So I gave it a 9.75, which ain't that's a great rating. I
Mm,
do love it. It's a
oh,
great,
yeah.
great
And,
album.
and before we get into the next album, ACDC at this point, the band has conquered Australia with touring all over Australia. Let There Be Rock is the album where they go over to Europe and the UK to start touring.
Yep,
This is where they start to steal the spotlight. 1977 is where they go on tour, where they open for Kiss and they open for Black Sabbath and they open for Rainbow. Blow all the
yep.
bands out of the water.
But yet, like we said, during all that, Mark Evans is not in the band anymore, so they end up tapping
Yes,
their current bassist, Cliff
Cliff
Williams,
Williams
and we come
joins
to the
in.
next, and then we come to the
Well, no,
next
he
album.
didn't
His
join
first.
on the next album. He joins in '77 for the tour.
Yep, but he's on this next album we're about to talk about, and
And Cliff,
the first
oh,
official one where it's all of the both international and I think it's released everywhere at this point. This is the version that's released everywhere, including
please
Australia.
ever,
We get to
except there's one
Power
bonus
Rage.
track.
Yeah,
Except
one
there's a
bonus track.
track which supposedly was recorded with Mark Evans in 1978. The track is called "Cold Hearted Man."
Not on this one, unfortunately, not on
It's
here.
it's it's in the Backtracks box set.
Ah, okay. Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. But yes, we get to Power Rage. First with Cliff, first where it's released everywhere. Mike, your thoughts on Power Rage and rating
Well,
wise?
at this time, the band is having high success in the UK and in Europe. The band goes back to Australia and decides to go over and record it in the United States for the very first time. They come out with Power Age, and this is the
I'm
album
back.
that
I'm
gets
back.
them into the
I'm
American
back.
market.
Well, I fact checked this. This was released in
70,
or recorded or released on May 5th, 1970, but it was recorded in Sydney, in
Sydney,
Australia
Australia.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah. But go on.
Um, yeah, and this album, what can I say? This is your typical Spawn era AC/DC album. Nothing bad on this album.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's I got the
Um,
same thing again. It's like
like I said, at this time, the rock scene in America at this time was kind of fading away. You had disco starting to be a thing, and well, you needed a band to bring life into the market. AC/DC steps their foot in the deeper water. They go to America. They start touring for the album. Um, and this album ends up being quite a success for the band. Um, so, God, I'm so unprepared. I was prepared.
we
I'm
were prepared.
fumbling, fumbling in
How
the
is it?
mud.
I'm much more prepared than you for this. Like, come on.
Yeah, and I'm shocked. But yeah, Power Rage, Rock and Roll Damnation, fuck, oh, great opener. Down Payment Blues, Give Me a Bullet, Riff Raff. They have side two, Sin City, What's Next on the Moon, Gone Shooting Up to My Neck, and You kicked in the fucking teeth.
Yeah,
All
that's
classic.
yeah. I think to myself, but I'll get to me here shortly.
And supposedly, this album is supposedly Phil Rudd, Angus Malcolm Cliff's their favorite album out of everything they've recorded live. They said it in several interviews that the band that the original lineup's favorite album is Parage.
Um, that's cool. But what score would you give this?
10 out of 10. It's a fucking perfect album.
I liked it. I was for me. I'm like this now. I'm putting me over here because I did him with when we were on Let There Be Rock. I was thinking written here. Originally thought that without hit songs because I don't think this album has any hit songs as far as I'm aware.
It
And
does
what I
have
mean,
hit songs. They're all hit songs. There's hit.
I'm
Riff
like
Raff's a hit.
what I mean by that is there's not songs you don't see them play live regularly. That's what I mean by
Yes,
hit songs.
yeah.
But
They play.
not
They
as
play
often.
these
Like
live quite a lot.
your
Lately.
regular out of the Bond eras, you'll see them play. If You Want Blood, you got it. Highway to Hell, Whole Lot of Rosie, Let There Be Rock, Dirty D's, TNT. You'll see them play that. I do not recognize any of these songs. So that's what I was thinking. I was gonna be consistently really good /
Well,
standard.
see,
But here, hold on. But then What's Next to the Moon, Gone Shooting, and Kicked in the Teeth came along and changed that thought. Overall, a really good album that got better at the end. But I'm gonna give this a 9.5. I'm not too high on
well,
it.
here's
It's
the thing,
like
Ryan.
it's good.
From Power Reach all the way up to think blow up your video. No, my mistake. Supposedly they played a lot of these songs live. Around that time. So yes. Also, it's really hot here, so I'm struggling in the heat.
Yeah, fair
That's
enough.
why I'm blanking
Yeah,
a lot.
I'm giving this one a 9.5. Now we come to we've already come to the end because this was relatively short. Sorry for those who are watching that this is pretty short, but we promise you next one will be longer. Part 2 will be a lot longer. But we come to Highway to Hell, last album with Bon Scott on vocals before his untimely death in 1980. Yes. Also, fun fact, first of 3 consecutive albums with Robert John Mutt-Lang producing. So he produced this one, Back in Black. He produced this, Back in Black, and For Those About to Rock on here.
Yes.
And I'm going to come out and say this right here, right now. Easily and without a doubt, the best Bon Scott era AC/DC album of all time. Hands down, no goddamn contest at whatsoever. Freaking love this. Like, all the way through. Freaking you got Highway to Hell. Oh, I forgot Ghost Gone Rhythm is on here. I forgot that was on here. Shot Down in Flames. It's like, you got great songs on this album. Really, really, really great songs. And it's a shame. And it's just a shame that this is the last, I guess you could say official, but there'll be one in part 2 we will definitely talk about. But for what it is, when he was alive, this is a fantastic way to go out. You know, it's a
Yeah.
it's a freaking fantastic one. Not perfect. It's close, but close. I mean, Robert.
Yeah.
I think John Lang brings something that has been sorely missing with some of those other albums, minus High Voltage and Let There Be Rock, the international
Well,
versions.
well, supposedly Angus and Phil did not like Mutt messing up with their sound though.
But
Studio.
it brought so much. This is probably why I'm a fan of the John Lang albums. They're freaking fantastic. Fantastic production and stuff like that.
So,
I get they hate it,
so,
but I'm like, I fucking love this. The production on this. This is like, I fucking love it. But
so the album.
I'm gonna give this one a 9.75. So, Mike, your
I was
turn.
gonna say. All right, so Highway to Hell comes out in 1979. The band's riding off their success of the Power Age tour, and this is the make or break album for the band, basically.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the album was composed and written by Angus, Malcolm, and Bond wrote some lyrics. Bond wrote a bunch of lyrics for this album. So, it's your classic lineup. This is the lineup for AC/DC. And so, released July 27, 1979. Recorded at 3 studios: Albert Studios in Sydney, Criteria Studios in Miami,
Miami,
and
and
Roundhouse
Roundhouse
Studios in
Studios
London.
in London. But yeah, like I said,
Produced,
produced by Robert John Lang.
yes, and fuck, this is a fucking good album. Highway to Hell, Girls Got Rhythm, Walk All Over
Fantastic.
You, Touch Too Much, Beating Around the Bush, Shot Down in
Down in
Flames, Get It
flames, get
Hot.
hot. If you
If
want
you want
blood,
blood, you've
you
got it.
got it. Freaking
Love
love that song.
Hungry Man. Then he ended with Night Prowler.
Freaking fantastic.
Almost a. It's a not. It is a perfect album. A 10 out of 10.
Yep, couldn't be better. I mean, you can. It's the last Bond one. You gotta.
That's Bomb
All
One
right.
album.
So yeah, that's I guess about it. Do you want to do part one rankings for this
Yeah,
one? All right.
yeah.
Okay. So let's just get into this.
I'll go. I'll
Okay.
go
Part
first.
one. Okay. What's your number 5?
High Voltage.
Mine is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Your number 4.
Dirty Deeds.
Power Rage for me. Your number 3.
Damn. Gotta go. Let There Be Rock. No, 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 no. Number 3 is Power Age.
High Voltage
The second.
International version. The international version is my number 3. Your number 2.
Let There Be Rock.
We're the same. Let There Be Rock. I'm not gonna ask what your number 1 is. we both share the same number 1. It's Highway to Hell, pretty much.
Highway to Hell, but on a flick note, I am now switching to number 2 be Highway to Hell and number 1 be Let There Be Rock, because that is the album I listen to the most of the Bonnet.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, our number 1 and number 2s are pretty much the same. We're just flipped. But yeah, I guess that's gonna be. That is at least.
No, hold on. Now pick your 5 favorites. No, pick your 5 singles.
Songs? Ooh, that's.
Yes.
Oh wow, that is.
5 honorable mentions and 5 regular songs. We're gonna be doing this. We're gonna be doing this for the Brian era.
Oh great, but that's a lot longer.
Have fun.
Okay. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay. I think.
All right.
I don't know if I'm gonna do honorable mentions. I'll just do my 5. And in no particular order. I love Rock and Roll Singer. I love that one. Several of them are gonna be off of this one. I love
Really?
Rock and Roll Singer, The Jack, TNT. So they're majority. I think what's one? Is there any from probably? Oof. Jeez, there's some nothing off of Dirty Deeds. Although I do like Problem Child, but that would be if I had an honorable mention, that would probably be an honorable mention. Problem Child. What about Let There Be Rock? No. Power Age? No. Oh, Highway? Probably. If I have to think of something from Highway to Hell, it'd probably be Shot Down in Flames. I'm only go back to the International High Voltage. Is there any others from? Nope, those are probably the only ones I like from that one. Probably. Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking of it, no. Problem Child still honorable mention. It'd probably be another one off of Highway to Hell. It's a toss up. That's a toss up between the title track. Did I say Shut Down in Flames was one of those I said I already mentioned? Okay, yeah,
Yes.
it's a tie between Highway to Hell and If You Want Blood.
All right, fair enough. All right, is that your list?
Yeah, that's my 5 with a tie.
All right, here's my 5 honorable mentions first. Go Down.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Go Down. Love Hungry Man. Little Lover. How many is that already?
That's 3.
TNT.
That's 4.
And then my last honorable mention is Bad Boy Boogie.
Okay, well, what are your 5?
And then my
Top
5 favorite Bond songs. Number 5, What's Next to the Moon. Number 4, fucking love Whole Lot of Rosie. Number 3, If You Want Blood, You've Got It. Number 2, Night Prowler. Number 1, Gone Shooting.
Cool. All right, that's probably going to be doing it for here. It's going to be a while before we do part 2, but that will be our next one. But there's going to be something in between. It might be me and him. It might be just somebody else.
Which Bond album do you think had Phil Rudd's best overall drumming?
Probably High Voltage.
Phil wasn't on High Voltage. Remember?
The international version.
Yeah.
Not the Australian version. The international version.
All right.
But yeah, it's going to be a while before we do part 2. But that's going to be everything else. So yes, it's going to be longer than this, guaranteed, because there's a lot more albums in that one, and there's probably going to be more talking about some of the stuff on there, especially with the first 2 albums, especially with me. But yeah, that's probably going to do it, everyone.
Subscribe, hit the bell, subscribe to Mimi Metal Mike, and leave a comment in this stream.
Yeah, I think we're going to be taking a month break, but we should be coming back sometime September.
Yes.
So, yeah, sometime in September is when we do part 2 for AC/DC. So, yeah, we will see y'all later. Oh,
yep, peace.
All right, later, everyone, and as always, keep things metal.